All right, people. Hey, welcome to episode one of the Breakdown with Chris Barron, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm going to break down a song I wrote when I was 19 years old, Two Princes by the Spin Doctors. I'm the lead singer of the Spin Doctors. Spin Doctors still together with the original guys. I'm just going to start right off playing you the tune. I said now, princess who adore you. So go ahead now, one less lemons in this pockets, and that's it now. This one, it wants to fight the rocket. Ain't that's it now. Yeah. This one got a princely racket. That's what I said now. Got some fix it up on his jacket. Ain't the man said now. You marry him, but the will come on you. How about that now? You marry me, but the will disown you. And it is that now. Marry him, or marry me. I'm the one that love you, baby. Can't you see? I ain't got no picture of family tree, but underrated picture of a heart to babe. Underrated picture of a heart to basic. If you want to call me baby, go ahead now. And if you like to tell me maybe, go ahead now. And if you want to buy me flowers, go ahead now. And if you like to talk for hours, go ahead now. Princess me before you, but I said now, princess who adore you. So go ahead now, put less lemons in this pocket, and that's some bread now. This one, you want to fight the rocket. Ain't the man said now, marry him, marry me. I'm the one that love you, baby, can't you see? I ain't got no picture, no family tree, but honey, with a picture of a heart to babe. Honey, with a picture of a heart to babe. Said if you want to call me baby, just go ahead now. And if you like to tell me maybe, just go ahead now. And if you want to buy me flowers, just go ahead now. And if you like to talk for hours, just go ahead now. And if you want to call me baby, and if you'd like to tell me maybe, and if you wanna burn me flourish, go ahead now, baby. Want to talk for hours? Come on, come on. Go ahead now, baby. Go ahead now. Two Princes, ladies and gentlemen. I wrote that tune when I was 19 years old, and it's actually a funny story because it almost didn't get written. I sat down to write this song, and I wrote the first two lines. 1, 2, princes kneel before you. Princes who adore you. And I looked down at the page, and I was like, that's stupid. And I almost stopped writing the song. But I was working on a principle at the time that had to do with voices, different voices that you have in your head. The creative voice and the editing voice. And both of these voices are helpful, but the timing of when you use them is very important. So I looked down, one, two, princes kneel before you, princes who adore you. Thought, man, that's really stupid. And what happened was, I just said to myself, that's the editing voice. Let's just see where this idea goes. 20 minutes later, I wrote this tune, Two Princes, and it's basically the reason I will probably be a professional musician for the rest of my life. So, um, I got a friend named Jillian who was talking about how you can kind of turn the volume up and down on these different voices, and the editing voice is great when it comes time to edit something, but when you're actually in the moment of like creating something, you don't want to talk to that voice. You don't want that voice in there, and you can think of it like knobs on a stereo. You can turn the knob down on one voice and turn the knob up on another one. When I was a kid, I started taking guitar lessons, and my teacher Barry Peterson taught me he taught me a couple tunes. He taught me a Fleetwood Mac song and a Harry Belafonte song, and a Simon and Garfunkel tune. And I took a couple chords from each one of those songs, and I was just playing them. And he came for the second lesson, and I thought, or not the second lesson, but the next lesson, he shows up, and I thought I might be in trouble. I thought he might be like, "Hey, stop fooling around and play what I tell you to practice." And he walked in, and I said, "Hey, I'm playing these chords." And he was like, "Oh, that's great." You take some chords that you like, and you put them together. You just strum them, and then you just go da 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 da, do 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 do. And if you do that long enough, it turns into lyrics. You write those down in a notebook with the chords, and that's how you write songs. And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "What about, all the notes and the, squiggly lines and all that stuff?" And he was like, "Do you think Bob Dylan and John Lennon know how to read music?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course they do." And he was like, "No, they don't. That's how they write songs." So I'm like 13, 14 years old, and my brain exploded. I couldn't believe like that was all there was to it. So I always came to, there's more to it than that, but not much in some ways. I always came at songwriting from like a creative writing kind of standpoint, because I was strong at creative writing from an early standpoint. Lyrics are really important in the song. A good musical composition is also very important, but the lyrics are really kind of the most important thing. And so the truth is that when you are working on a tune, you don't want to listen to that. There's that chatter voice is going to show up in your head and tell you this sucks. And if you hear a voice saying that, you should turn that voice down and just be creative for a while. Then later on, you can edit. Once the ideas, you want to get these ideas out while you're still bubbling with these ideas. You want to get those out, and then you want to come back and revise, because you don't want to just like put anything that you write in front of people. Then you go back and you think about whether something works or not. And there's a way to figure out whether a line works or not. If you asked me about any line in any one of my tunes, I could tell you why the line is in the song. And that's really important. You're writing a song, you have a title, you have an idea for the song. Sometimes you're not clear on what that idea is until later on in the song. But the idea is that you're chasing down this idea. Song is like a problem in the sense, I use the word problem in the sense of like a math problem. Song is like a problem that you're trying to solve. It's an assertion that you're trying to prove. So you like, what is this song about? And then you have to support that idea of what the song is about. So later on, you go back and you apply these kinds of principles of strong songwriting to the idea, and that's when you want to use the editing voice. I like, people talk about good songs, good bad songs, good lyrics and bad lyrics. I don't think about it in terms of good and bad. I think about it in terms of strong and weak. I think about things in terms of like elaborate and simple. I try to make the axes be more, productive, so that you're actually like dealing with something you can deal with. Because who knows what good and bad is? I know what complex is, and I know what simple is. If something's really complex, then maybe I need to throw something simple in, so people's minds can sort of catch up. But the idea is that the basic principle of it all is that you just want to illustrate the idea of the song. And when I say illustrate, I actually mean illustrate. Because if I say to you, I felt bad, right? Well, then two things happen in your head. Feeling bad is like this concept. It's this idea that you have and that exists in the world, but it's not a thing. If I say monkey, you see a monkey, right? So you want to, rather than say I feel bad, the other thing that happens, the one thing that happens is just an idea and it doesn't evoke like a picture in your head, right? The other thing that happens is if I say that in a song, then basically like I give the listener the option to either believe me or not believe me. So then it comes down to whether I'm credible to that person or not. Do they like my voice? Do they like what I'm wearing? Am I good looking enough? Am I too good looking, right? He feels bad. I don't know. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Then they start to look at you, right? But if I say I missed her, right? You believe me, you don't believe me. How much do I miss her? You don't know, right? If I say I filled a ditch with unwritten letters, then you might not be sure what I'm saying, but all of a sudden now, like you're seeing something. Now you might not be sure exactly what I mean, but now I'm putting a picture in your head, right? Because that's a monkey, a ditch full of unwritten records. That's not unwritten letters. That's not an idea. That's a picture, right? And then sort of bring the editing idea, bring the editing voice in, right? Because now we're editing, right? Now we're looking at something. I'm looking down at the line. I see I missed her, right? That's the line in the song. I'm like, well, how can I say that better? How can I illustrate that? How can I make that from just an idea into like something that people are going to have no choice but to see something in their head and have to interpret, right? So then you're like, okay, I missed her. I filled a word in the ditch. Is ditch like a great? So now we're going through, right, and we're looking for stronger. We want a stronger word. I like unwritten letters. Unwritten letters is pretty evocative, right? Does that song fit in our song? Does that word fit in our song? Well, how about I filled a crater of the moon with unwritten letters, right? Now we have another picture, right? Maybe that's a bit of a stronger picture because it's like outer space and it's a crater on the moon, and the moon is this lonely kind of idea. And then let's say I want to increase, the magnitude of the idea, right? I filled every crater on the moon with unwritten letters, right? Okay, now we have an image. Now, do I sound crazy? That's not my problem, We're writing now. We're creating something. And, belly buttons are weird. Are my ideas weird? Belly buttons are weird. Everybody has a belly button too, And I'm going to come back to your weird idea and whether, what to do, whether that's okay or not. I mean, the short answer is yeah, that's what it's all about. Because now we're into something strong. And now we're into something that's personal, right? Because I'm sitting here and I'm not, you don't have to like, now you're not like, is he good looking? Is he cool enough? Does he have a new enough guitar, right? Do I believe him or not? Now you're like, now you're coping with what I'm saying. Now you're just like, he filled every crater on the moon with unwritten letters, like you're coping with that. Now I've taken the reins in your mind, and you are seeing the picture that I want you to see. So then, then it's like, okay, well, then maybe I need to rhyme it. So is it, I filled every crater on the moon with unwritten letters or unwritten epistles, right? Maybe that rhymes. Maybe I want to say, I've filled every crater on the moon with unwritten epistles. And I'm, losing my mind, or I'm blocking out the sun with with crystals. I don't know. See where I'm going with this, though? So, your weird ideas. What we come to next is like, I think people make the mistake of, so now, like, do you trust your own voice? Do you trust this voice? Do you trust these ideas? Because they're weird, right? They're your weird ideas. So then what happens? For a while, I was teaching songwriting. I was teaching songwriting at SUNY Purchase, and it's a great place. But before I taught there, I was talking to a student, and they were like, this teacher gives really brutal critiques, and this teacher gives really, really tough critiques. And I was like, wait, what is going on in these songwriting classes? And they were like, we're like playing our songs, and then we we critique them. And I was like, so you have like other students and teachers are just like listening to your songs and telling you what they should be, and what's wrong with them? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, oh, I wouldn't do that. And they were like, well, what would you do? And I was like, I would just teach people how to write songs. So like, because what we always did growing up, because I grew up with a bunch of really cool songwriters. So in high school, we never were like, oh, here's a song that I wrote, will you critique it for me? We never did that. We just played each other's songs. So like, because when you play a song for somebody and they are in the position of critiquing it, all of a sudden their head is in a completely different place. Now they're the critic, right? Now you're not playing a song for like a listener, you're playing a song for somebody who is, listening critically to the song, looking for something that's wrong with it, or looking for what's right with it, or trying to figure out what you want to hear about it. Now you're in a whole different dynamic. So we always just like played our songs for each other. I think we were just high school kids, and we had written songs, we were psyched about them, but that's just the way it was. It never occurred to us to be like, ask for a critique of a song. So we would play tunes, and we would just like watch everybody. You'd play the tune, and you'd just be like playing the tune, and you'd have it in a notebook, and you'd just be like checking out everybody's reaction. And when you do that, you can feel what's going on in the room when you're playing the song. And I always think about this one instance. I had a song called "When You're Done," and I wrote it. And typical kind of thing. I was older, but my friends, my friend Ben and Billy Bones, they came over and looked down at the notebook, and I'd written this song, and I was like, oh, you guys want to hear this song that I wrote yesterday? And they were like, yeah. So I had written this tune, and I'd gotten to the third verse, and the song's called "When You're Done." It's like, when you're done, remember I am the one. Remember I am the one. When you're done, remember I am the one. So the third verse comes around, and it's like, when you're done fooling around with that mook, come see about your incorrigible kook. And it's when you're done fooling around with that mook, come see about your incorrigible kook. And it the line was so misshapen that I couldn't even go on to the next phrase. I had to like be like I had to play a little bit. I had to play an extra couple bars before I could move on to the next thing because it didn't even fit in. So I'm writing this, then I'm just like, that's stupid. I'll rewrite that later. So I play the song for Billy and Ben, and they're like, I get to this line, and they crack up. And the weird part of the song that it doesn't fit into, like the part where I have to play a little extra, is perfect for like laughter. So it's a laugh line, and I thought it was stupid, but it turns out it's a laugh line. And if I had asked those guys to critique it, I guarantee they would have been like, I don't know about the mook line. You should do something about that mook line. It doesn't really fit. And I never forgot that because it's kind of the best line in the song. But if I had asked those guys like to critique the song, for sure they would have been. That's what would have jumped out. So sometimes I have a friend named Arna Havda. He's in the Canoes and this other band that I'm in besides the Spin Doctors. And he says that every hook is a mistake. You go to a hook, and there's something either like if it's a note, the note's not in the key. If it's a word, it's a weird word. The reason Two Princes is such a hooky song is like it's like what the fuck is going on with it in this song? What is going on in this song? Like really even like who ever heard of a song about two princes? Who ever heard of 1, 2 princes kneel before you, princes who adore you? In retrospect, it's a foregone conclusion because now it's been played on the radio 8 million times. But when I sat down, with that notebook, it was not a foregone conclusion at all. It looked stupid, and I had to have faith and keep moving and trust my voice. So yeah. So like, I'm going to do something now. I'm going to wrap this up. In conclusion, you got the creative voice. You've got the editing voice. They both have their place. They both have their time. When it's the creative voice is fragile and shy. It will leave the room if it encounters too much dissonance, and you have to protect it. You got to kind of cradle it. You don't want to like throw that out in the world. The whole idea of like, oh yeah, give it to me straight between the eyes. Like critique this. Be like as mean as you need to be. Some people thrive in that kind of an atmosphere. I've never written that way. I've always protected that voice. And way later in the process, if you're going to play songs in front of people, people are going to be jerks about it. And that's why it's important to take what you do seriously, but you don't take yourself seriously. Because, like, who cares if somebody likes this stuff or not? You're doing it for yourself, hopefully, and making yourself happy. So, the editing voice is a little tougher, and once you get the creative voice kind of ready for it, then you bring the editing voice in, and you learn how to get those two voices working together. And then there's other people's voices, and you can be in control of how other people's voices, to some extent. You can't control other people, but to some extent you can present what you're doing in a way that those other people's voices are much more helpful. Again, the idea of just playing a tune instead of asking for a critique, what's crucial is we would be sitting, I'd be sitting at Ben's like kitchen table, and I'd be like, hey, I got a song, and I would sit there and I would just do the song right out of a notebook, but out of the corner of my eye, out of the corner of my ear, out of the corner of my brain, I'm clocking that reaction. And that's valuable. That's valuable because when people aren't critiquing something and they're just thinking about what you're saying or what you're playing, and they're just listening to it, you can feel the lines that are landing, and you can feel the lines that aren't. You can feel when something is a bit of a dud, and you can feel when something is really happening. You can tell what parts of the song are working, what parts aren't, and you're gonna get a more, you're gonna get an absolutely candid reaction because you haven't asked anybody to critique it. You're just gonna play it for them. So now I'm just gonna finish up, and I'm gonna practice what I preach. This is a song I finished yesterday. I've only played it through a couple of times, and I'm gonna play it for you guys. And I'm not asking for a critique. I'm gonna show you what it looks like, what it always looked like. When I did this. This is what happens. I'll do this for my wife, Lindsay Nicole Chambers, who you guys know. And this is a tune called "In the Kingdom," and I wrote it yesterday, and I'm just gonna play it for you the way I would play it if you were over at my house, and I was gonna let you check out a tune, or play a tune I just wrote. The towering injustice of an empire on the fade, like long shadows of short flowers and the insects in their shade, casts its gloomy gravity on the pittance you are paid. If you do not have it made in the kingdom, the emperor is sighing, 'cause the people see his skin as concrete slowly covers all the world they're living in. He's looking at a map of a place he's never been, and he sticks a little pin in the kingdom. Now the money counters enter, and they're snipping all the sales and sewing special bags to weigh down the backs of whales, and hiring assistants to do their time in jail and read everybody's mail in the kingdom. Bureaucrats fill thimbles of milk they'll have to spill, and pin mugshots on the corkboard of the folk they'd like to kill, and keep track of every single bone ground down in every mill, and empty every till in the kingdom. And everyone bows down before an idol made of wood, and because it is not made of gold, decide it means they're good. So they all decide to chop down every tree that stood in the nicest neighborhood in the kingdom. Assassins take their tango all across the killing floor, where a corporal shows the general how to shut the oven door. And Gretel and poor Hansel don't leave breadcrumbs anymore. They've both seen this dance before in the kingdom. And I'm Chris Barron. This has been The Breakdown. Please, subscribe to my channel. I'm the Chris Barron here on YouTube. I hope you enjoyed this show. This is episode 1. Thanks for being here. This is going to be up, posted on Heard Music Television, Heard Music TV, and so you can watch it again later, or if you liked it and you want to, get someone else to check it out, it'll be up. And I'd just like to thank the Horse Whisperer and the Herd, and I want to send a shout out to Curiosity Cat, who fell off the radar for 23 days, and it turned out she had COVID and she was in the hospital, and I hope she was able to tune in tonight. Much love. This first episode is called Two Princes, and then in brackets, various voices, and Curiosity Cat is dedicated to you. So thanks a lot for joining us tonight, and everybody take care, and I guess that's it. All right. Bye. Kahan.